Hello and welcome to Dot TV News at 4. Here are the stories we have for you. The Delta State government, through the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, has marked its first International Albinism Day, reaffirming its commitment to inclusion, equality, and the protection of persons with albinism. The event, with the theme Proudly in My Skin, brought together government officials, advocacy groups, and persons with albinism to celebrate diversity and promote equal opportunities for all. Victoria Monday completes the report.
The celebration underscored the dignity, rights, and abilities of persons with ableism. Participants called for greater public awareness to address stigma, misconception, and discrimination associated with the condition. The Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs and Girl Child Development, Honorable Pat Ajudua, reaffirmed the state government's commitment under Governor Sharif Oborowori to building an inclusive society where every citizen is treated with dignity, respect, and equal opportunity.
People living with albinism have been stigmatized. They have been having this feeling of exclusion and inferiority. And so going by the order of the day, starting from United Nations to what Nigeria is doing, by the principle of inclusivity, Delta State has decided to flow along by making sure that those living with albinism are included both in government and in everything we do. Today on, people living with albinism are free to exercise and express their rights in Delta State.
Stakeholders also call for improved access to healthcare, quality education, employment, and stronger protection against discrimination. They urge families, schools, and community to embrace and support persons with ableism while promoting inclusion and equal participation.
We appreciate the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. I know there's a lot more that can be done, but the awareness has been created today. A number of people will see it will now begin to make come up with plans and programs to support these initiatives. The awareness has to go to every nook and cranny, churches, schools, so that the parents will also hear about it. Once they are aware, they can always go to the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to get more information on what they can do to help the children.
Albinism is not something contagious. It's just an impairment. It's something that had to do with the pigmentation in the system, and we need to understand that whatever color that you have, whether you are with albinism or you are dark or whatever color that you have, we should be proud of it.
Persons with ableism at the event expressed appreciation to the Delta State government for recognizing their challenges and celebrating their achievements. They described the event as a step forward in raising awareness, challenging stereotype, and boosting confidence. As the Delta State joined the global push for the rights and inclusion of persons with ableism, stakeholders say sustained awareness, education, and public support are key to ending discrimination and ensuring equal opportunities for all. Reporting from Asaba, Victoria Monday, Dott TV News.
The Nigerian police have arrested a 31-year-old man, Michael Loyowale, for allegedly killing his girlfriend, a 21-year-old final-year law student of the University of Port Harcourt, following a dispute over marriage in Warri, Delta State. According to the Delta State Commissioner of Police, Yemi Oyeniyi, the suspect allegedly invited his girlfriend Habibatu Arua from Port Harcourt to Warri for a short visit. During her stay, an argument reportedly broke out after the victim discovered that the suspect was already married, despite discussions about them getting married.
On receipt of the information, the DPO led detective to the scene where the victim was seen in a pool of her blood. She was taken to the hospital and was confirmed dead on arrival. The suspect, one Adedamola Michael Oyewole, aged 31 years, was arrested. The suspect stated that the argument started when deceased found out that he is married to a woman based in the United States of America. And in the process of the argument, he stabbed her on the neck, stomach, and thighs. Suspect is in custody, and investigation is ongoing.
Similarly, the Delta State Police Command has arrested the driver of Bishop Chinedu James, along with other suspects over the alleged murder of his employer.
The driver fled the state immediately after committing the dastardly act. On 13th of May 2026, working in synergy with Anambra State Command, the suspect was arrested. He attempted to sell the Land Cruiser belonging to the bishop. Anambra State Police Command carried preliminary investigation and handed over to the suspect to Delta State Police Command. Further investigation revealed that the suspect, before carrying out this act, was earlier employed by a company in Rivers State. While working there, he made away with their vehicle, a 2016 model Toyota Corolla, sold it, and disappeared. The suspect has been charged to court for the case of suspected murder.
On efforts to combat kidnapping in the state, the command said 4 suspected kidnappers have been arrested, while 18 kidnapped victims were rescued, including a 3-year-old child. According to the police, the child was allegedly abducted by the tricycle rider who usually conveyed her to school.
The suspect later identified as Ilyasu Hassan, 16 years old, and Idris Abdul Karim, aged 32 years, were arrested on 22nd June 2026 at about 20:30 hours after emerging from a nearby forest to purchase food and medication. Following the arrest, the victim of an earlier kidnapping incident identified the suspect as part of those who attempted to kidnap him. Effort to arrest other members of the gang is similarly ongoing.
Meanwhile, a civil advocacy group, the Ogara Study Group, has raised alarm over worsening insecurity in Ogara Kingdom, Ethiopia's local government area of Delta State, following the killing of a kidnapped man after his family reportedly paid a ransom. The victim was abducted alongside his wife, who later escaped, but he was allegedly murdered despite the payment. Speaking at a press conference in Warri, the group's co-conveners, Reverend David Ugolo and Professor Generuna Ewere, said kidnapping, banditry, and killing have become frequent in the area. They noted that many victims have been killed before or even after ransom payments, leaving families devastated and residents living in fear. The Ogara Study Group called on the federal government, the Delta State government, the Ethiopia's local government council to urgently strengthen security in the area. It urged the deployment of more security personnel, better support for community vigilante groups through investigations into recent attacks, and improved security infrastructure to protect lives and restore public confidence. Moving on, the growing rate of indiscriminate waste disposal in Asaba, the Delta State capital, is raising serious environment and public health concerns, with residents and stakeholders calling for stronger measures to tackle the problem. The reports.
Across several parts of the city, heaps of refuse litter major roads, street corners, drainage channels, and markets. Environmental experts warned that the practice not only defaces the city's landscape but also creates breeding grounds for mosquitoes and rodents, increases the risk of disease outbreaks, and contributes to flooding through blocked drainage channels, particularly during the rainy season. While some residents blame the situation on inadequate waste collection services and the limited number of designated disposal points, others say poor public attitudes towards environmental sanitation have significantly worsened the problem.
So we have been complaining in my compound. We pay them, we don't owe them, but most of the times they will not come to collect to remove the debts, and maggots will be coming out from there. So we've complained and we complained. There's nothing we can do. In fact, we even preferred calling iron condemned people to come and collect because they can dispose it immediately.
We have task force on Delta State Capital Territory, and we still have the ones of environment. Normally, they are not effective. They have to make it effective so that our surroundings will be very, very clean. The government should provide a basket for us too on the street and provide a task force on that too.
From where I'm living, the area, they are trying to come. Whenever we call on them to come and pick up the waste products, they do come. When they don't come, we sometimes find the means of taking it away from the area we are living.
What the government should do is to carry out a solid advocacy to enlighten the people on the danger inherent in disposing waste abnormally.
Government that is supposed to do the needful. You don't need to do the drainage and left it open. Cover it. People will not see way to throw their waste bin inside.
Environmental advocates are also calling for greater investment in waste management infrastructure, expanded recycling initiatives, and stricter enforcement against illegal dumping of refuse.
Government has approved and registered PSP who have the capacity to deliver. We do have that report from time to time of people, residents complaining that their PSP doesn't come as at when they are supposed to be there. Where we look into them, and when we see merit, we sanction the PSP. We also know that we have a challenge of a dump site. We have just one dump site in the capital territory. So we're also looking if we can get additional dump site. It will also help in managing this.
The board, however, insists that keeping Asaba clean will require the active cooperation of residents, businesses, and community leaders.
You, in your home, can sort your waste. You can take them to these recycling points and they will buy it from you. We have about 6 centers that this agency allocated to waste bank that receive recyclable materials. One at Somi Junction, one at by Infant Jesus, another at Camp 74, another at NTA.
They maintained that sustainable waste management remains critical to protecting both public health and the environment. Success Benjamin, reporting for Dott TV.
And now to the FCT, where a federal high court sitting in Maitama, Abuja, has ordered a final forfeiture of 150 million naira linked to the serving House of Representatives member Nicholas Mutu to the federal government. Justice J.O. Abdul-Malik delivered the ruling after the court upheld an application filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. According to the courts, the funds should be permanently forfeited after no convincing explanation was provided to show why the money should not be seized by the government. The forfeiture followed earlier proceedings in which the court granted an interim order against the funds. Justice Abdul-Malik equally ordered that the order be published in a national newspaper to allow interested parties to challenge the application. In other news, the federal government has announced that another 271 Nigerians affected by the recent xenophobic protests in South Africa will arrive in Lagos today as the ongoing evacuation exercise continues. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in a statement issued on Thursday by its spokesperson, Kimebi Ebienifa, said the latest batch would bring the government closer to the completing of the evacuation of Nigerians who voluntarily registered to return home. According to the ministry, the third evacuation flight is expected to land at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, at about 5:30 a.m. on Friday, July 3, 2026, with 271 returnees on board. The ministry disclosed that a total of 593 Nigerians have already been evacuated from South Africa in previous operations. In the meantime, Minister of Works Dave Umahi has dismissed comments about floods in Lagos, which many residents of the state link to the Coastal Road project. Umahi spoke on Thursday during the flag-up of the rehabilitation of the second phase of the Baban Laban Sharam Road in Kanker local government area of Plateau State. According to him, the coastal road has been raised to bridge the gap so that the water from the ocean will not cross over to communities and estates. Coming up shortly on the news at 4, Iran begins public mourning of Ayatollah killed in February, and that's on Foreign News Plus Sports after the break. Please stay with us. In the heart of Asaba, where the street tells the stories every single day.
From the corridors of powers to the decisions shaping governance and politics in Delta and Nigeria.
From traders counting every naira to families battling rising costs and uncertain times.
From football pitches to sporting successes to the major developments making the headlines all over the world.
And from the untold human stories, the struggles, victories, resilience, and hope of the everyday Nigerians.
This is the news beyond the headlines. Dott TV News are your trusted window to stories that truly matter to the people. Here, we don't just report events, we tell the human stories behind them.
Thanks for still being there. Now to the rest of our stories. And to Oyo State, the Oyo State government has denied reports claiming it paid ransom to secure the release of pupils and teachers abducted by bandits in Orire local government area. It described the allegation as false and misleading. In a statement signed by the Commissioner for Information, Dotun Oyelade, on Friday, the government described the claim as far from the truth and a deliberate attempt by irresponsible bloggers to create confusion and misinform the public. He urged members of the public to disregard the reports and rely only on the information released through official government channels. Elsewhere, former Secretary to the Benue State government, David Salifu, has died after suffering gunshot wounds during an attack by suspected bandits along the Wukari-Makodi Road. Salifu, who served as SSG under the administration of former Governor Gabriel Sonswam, was also a lecturer at the Federal University Wukari, Taraba State. According to sources, the former government official was traveling from Wukari to Makodi on Thursday when his vehicle was intercepted by suspected armed bandits. The attackers reportedly ordered him to step out of his vehicle and board a motorcycle. And now in Sokoto State, residents of Bodinga local government area have staged a protest blocking the Bodinga-Sokoto highway to demand urgent government intervention following renewed bandit attacks on several communities. The protest followed reports of fresh attacks that allegedly claimed lives, displaced families, and left several residents missing. Journalist Bakastin, who reports on conflict and insecurity in Nigeria's northwest, disclosed in a post on X that the protesters accused authorities of failing to protect communities from the persistent attacks. According to him, residents said the violence has forced many people to flee their homes, while some families had become separated in the chaos and were still searching for missing relatives. And now to the foreign scene. Iran has begun several days of public mourning and funeral procession for its former supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, more than 4 months after he was killed in strikes launched by the US and Israel. The former Ayatollah's body will lie in the state in Tehran's Grand Mosala from Friday. ahead of his burial in his hometown of Mashhad next Thursday. Iranian authorities said 12 to 20 million people were expected to attend, which they are calling the funeral of the century. It comes as Iran and United States observe a fragile ceasefire after signing a preliminary deal to halt their conflict in June. For more stories on the foreign scene, let's now join Emeka Okonkwo.
Millions of people across the eastern United States are facing dangerous heat and humidity ahead of the 4th of July holiday, with temperatures reaching around 38 Celsius and heat index values making it feel as hot as 46 Celsius in cities including Washington, Philadelphia, and New York. The National Weather Service has warned that the prolonged heat with little overnight cooling poses serious health risks. The extreme weather is affecting major holiday events, including America's 250th birthday celebrations, outdoor World Cup matches, and Independence Day activities. Authorities have limited attendance at some outdoor rehearsals in Washington because of the heat, while officials are urging residents to stay indoors, keep hydrated, and avoid prolonged exposure to the sun. In Germany, a dramatic weather phenomenon was captured over southern Germany after a large water spout formed above a lake near the city of Friedrichshafen. Witnesses watched as the towering column of rotating water and clouds stretched from the sky to the lake's surface, creating a striking spectacle that lasted between 5 and 10 minutes. The event occurred on Wednesday and drew the attention of residents and visitors, many of whom recorded the rare occurrence on their phones. Despite its impressive appearance, there were no immediate reports of injuries or significant damage linked to the water spout. According to Germany's National Weather Service, water spouts are relatively uncommon in the country, occurring only about 2 to 3 times each year. They typically develop when unstable atmospheric conditions combine with warm water and rotating air, producing a tornado-like column over a body of water. Russia has launched one of its largest aerial assaults on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, killing at least 30 people and injuring more than 90. Ukrainian officials say nearly 500 drones and more than 70 missiles were fired across the country overnight, with dozens striking targets despite air defenses intercepting most of the incoming weapons. Rescue teams continue searching through collapsed buildings as authorities fear the death toll could rise. The attack caused widespread destruction across Kyiv, damaging residential apartment blocks, an ambulance station, a research institute, a hotel, and other civilian sites. Thousands of residents, including many children, spent the night sheltering in the city's metro stations as air raid sirens sounded for about 11 hours. Finally, an international police operation across 7 countries has uncovered organized online networks where men allegedly drug and sexually assault women, often their own partners, while using encrypted chat groups to coordinate attacks, share abuse videos, and exchange advice on avoiding detection. Authorities say many victims were unconscious during the assault and only learned what had happened after being contacted by the police. The investigation, known as Project Medusa, was launched by European law enforcement with support from agencies in the United States, Brazil, Canada, France, Hungary, the Netherlands, and Spain. Since April, investigators have identified more than 150 suspected offenders and victims, opened over 270 new investigative leads, and arrested 57 people. Officials warn the true scale of the crimes is likely far greater because many cases go unreported. The operation follows the widely publicized case of Cécile Pellicotte in France, whose former husband was convicted of organizing repeated rapes while she was unconscious. It also comes after investigative reporting exposed online communities where members allegedly encouraged and instructed one another on how to drug and sexually assault women. Authorities say these criminal networks exploit encrypted messaging platforms to normalize abuse, exchange illegal drugs, and coordinate attacks. Law enforcement agencies are urging anyone who believes they may have been a victim of drug-facilitated sexual assault to come forward, emphasizing that international cooperation is essential to identifying offenders and protecting potential victims. Emeka Okonkwo reporting for for Dott TV News.
Thank you, Emeka. Up next is sports news with Anthony Uche.
There will be an Iberian derby in the last 16 of the ongoing FIFA World Cup as Spain and Portugal book their places in contrasting circumstances. Spain, in the day's first game, brushed a hapless Austrian team aside by 3-0 in Los Angeles. Mikel Oyarzabal took his goal tally to 4 with the second brace of the tournament, with right back Pedro Porro rounding off the scoring. That was Spain's first knockout victory at the World Cup since winning it in 2010, and they are yet to concede a goal so far in this tournament, a feat only shared by co-hosts Mexico. Portugal fell behind early in the second half against Croatia in Toronto, but managed to recover and hold on for the win to book a place against Spain in the last 16. The game burst into life following a largely uneventful first half in the 53rd minute when Ivan Perisic fired past Portugal goalkeeper Diogo Costa. Croatia, however, conceded a penalty when Nikola Vlasic wrestled Portuguese defender Renato Vieira to the ground, and Cristiano Ronaldo equalized from the spot with his first ever World Cup knockout goal before Gonzalo Ramos scored the winner in the 94th minute. In the last game of the day, Africa's last 32 nightmare continued as Algeria lost to Switzerland by 2-0 to bow out of the tournament. Early goals in either half by Bril Mbolo and Dan Ndoye condemned their former coach Vladimir Petkovic and his Algerian side to a second and last defeat at this year's World Cup. Now to basketball, where the Tigers began their journey to Qatar for the 2027 FIBA World Cup on a positive note, following a narrow 84-81 victory over Tunisia on Thursday in Luanda, Angola, winning 3 of 4 quarters in what was Coach David Fittel's first competitive outing. Chimezie Metu and Ike Iruebu led the scoring with 17 points apiece, 3 points ahead of Wes Iwundu, who racked up 14. The Nigerians will be back in action today against Guinea, with the last game of this qualification round coming on the 5th of July against Rwanda. From the sports desk, Anthony Uche for Dott TV News.
That's all we have for you on Dott TV News at 4. Thank you for your time. I am Priscilla Ifani, and remember to follow Dott TV on all our social media platforms at official.tv. Thank you for joining us.